Okay. How MP processes data. So we've jumped ahead a little bit to talk about how MP processes data. And we're going to go back and talk about all the basic stuffs as well. But I think this is pretty important to understand, so I wanted to start with it. When we talk about using a post processor, there are some things that happen in the process that go along with the post. So for example, when we start out, the first thing we do is not hit the post button. First we have to load a machine definition, then we have to create toolpaths. So when we load a machine definition, the machine definition is tied to a control definition, which is linked to a post processor. And when you load a machine into Mastercam, it loads the control definition and the post processor. When that happens, there are some links that exist between the post processor and Mastercam. And there are some methods we can use inside the post to modify Mastercam's graphic user interface. What do I mean by that? Well, if we look at these operations over here, we've got, starting with op 7, we've got a contour, all the way to op 16 as a swerve. And you'll notice that here it says properties, Johnsford 5-axis with Finute control. If I open up operation 16 and I click on parameters, every operation in Mastercam has a page or a section called miscellaneous values. The miscellaneous values is a mechanism that is created for you to be able to interact with the post processor. Right now, you'll notice that all 10 of the miscellaneous integers and all 10 of the miscellaneous real numbers are basically blank. They are set to their default value, which is misc integer and then the number, or misc real and then the number, because the post that was associated with this Mastercam file can't be found. So it's gone back and it's just using the regular default values. This section here, so again, the misc values, as well as drilling toolpaths. If I go to a peck drill operation and we go look at the cut parameters, Mastercam has 8 predefined drill cycles, but we also have an additional 12 custom cycles that are available for you. So what can these be used for? They can be used for all kinds of things. They can be used for custom drill cycles. So maybe you want a gun drilling cycle, or you want a flange drilling cycle where you're going to drill through, flange number 1, and then you're going to wrap it down 4 inches, and then you're going to drill through flange number 2. Maybe you want to do probing on your machine, so you want to call a probing macro and pass some parameter values, the size of the probe, the diameter of the hole that you're going to probe, the error, the max tolerance. All of those things can be passed to the post processor through the method of customizing the interface. So what we're talking about here is changing the actual pictures and text that are here. And by the way, starting with 2018, the post text format has changed, and we can now embed bitmap images, which is kind of cool. There are some rules about it, and honestly I haven't even looked at all the rules and done a sample yet, but we can now put custom graphics as well. So there's some really cool things that are available as far as your ability to tailor Mastercam to fit your individual needs. And all of this is accomplished through editing the post, which then again modifies the Mastercam interface. So if we go back here, so now we've read the post, we've modified the graphic user interface, and now you go and create toolpaths. So you've written all your toolpaths and you're ready to post process. So you click the G1 button. When you click the G1, oh, by the way, when you create your toolpaths, Mastercam stores those toolpaths as binary Nci data. What does Nci stand for? Anybody know? They just had to pick a name for it, so I believe they call it Numerical Control Intermediate, which is what Nci stands for, and it's basically their generic toolpath format. What's it look like? Now that's a tricky one, right? I'll show you guys a secret. If you ever want to see the binary Nci data, select the operations you're interested in, hold down Control and Shift at the same time, and right click. When you do that, you're going to see a whole bunch of secret, super secret squirrel commands down here. So these are developer functions. So for example, we can say display binary Nci. Oh. Version ID not found. We're getting some kind of error. Oh, there we go. Took it a while to process. I was going to say, that's not what it's supposed to look like. There it goes. So this is what your toolpath data looks like inside Mastercam before we start post-processing it. Okay, it's a bunch of raw data like toolpath point positions, line moves, arc moves, tool data, a bunch of stuff. And it exists in binary format. Now, when we go to post-process, Mastercam then converts that binary Nci data into ASCII Nci data. And why does it convert it on the fly? Anybody got an idea? So if you think about it, we've got a bunch of operations in here. So Nicholas says better organization. Somewhat. You know, I'll give you that one. Because part of it really, you've got a bunch of this data and we don't know what you're going to process. You could post all of this, right? Every single operation in here could be part of the same program. But you know what? Maybe you just want to run these two operations. Operation 1 and 2, right? You've already ran this, but you know, the guy just needed you to put the holes in real quick. Somebody forgot to run sequence number 1. So when I hit post, as soon as I hit the post button, Mastercam looks at what you have selected. And do the operations that you have selected, are they part of the same file? If I expand the operation tree a little bit and you look down here at toolpath, you can see that this is 209-4WJ1A.prg. That's the name of the program. And in Mastercam, you control the name of the program by, you know, selecting one op or many ops. We can select all of them, for example. Right-clicking, edit selected operation, change NC file name. If I have every single operation with the same NC file name, they're all part of the same file. But even though I may give them the same name, I can still individually select ops and choose to post them on the fly. So here I've chosen op1, op2, and op5. I'm skipping 3 and 4. So really, Mastercam doesn't know what you want to post until you actually go and select it and post it. Because here we've got several operations that are being skipped. It's going to prompt you, right? If I go and I hit post right now, go select a post real quick. If I go and say, yeah, I want to post it, everything looks great, okay, it tells me not all operations for the file name test-1.nci have been selected for posting. Do you want to post them all? Yes, no, cancel. Let's say no. I just want to post these 3. So what happens is in the background, Mastercam takes those 3 binary operations, it converts them to ASCII NCI, and then it post-processes them. And the post-processor reads all that NCI data and spits out a program. And here's what my program looks like. Now keep in mind, this was 3 operations, right? It was ops 1, 2, and 5. In fact, let's just do this. I'm going to take those 3 ops, we're going to name them, funny enough, 3 ops. So now this is all part of one separate program because it has a different NCI name from the rest of the data that's in my toolpath tree. Now, it's horrible organization. I'll freely admit that. I wouldn't want to do that if I was trying to make this, a program that somebody wants to follow. I would put these in their own group so that they really were a separate program, right? Take op5, maybe move it after op2. Take ops, 4 and 5 here. I'm going to right click and hold, drag them down to op6 here and say move to 4. That's better, right? Because now these are well and truly, part of their own operation. I've got my own machine group. And so what I'm going to do here for this machine group, I'm going to do a replace on it. And I'm going to replace it with mil 4-axis VMC mcam-mmd. So this is one of our default machines that exist in Mastercam. It's a 4-axis milling machine. And by grabbing that default machine, it's going to load. Oop, I've edited this one prior. So let me go. Yeah, let me make sure it's set to the generic FNUC. So I load this machine, it has a control definition, and it's pointing to generic FNUC 4x mil post. So when I process these 3 operations, that's the post processor, let me save that, that's going to be used to output the data. Generic FNUC 4x mil post. So what happens when we post process? We select operations, okay? We hit the G1 button, and now we get this post-processing dialog that comes up. See how we're doing here. A couple more minutes on this recording. As part of the posting process, Mastercam gives you the ability to look at the NCI data. So we can process the NCI file, we can process the NC file, which is our code, and we can choose to edit either or both. Now, if we choose to edit the NCI file, something interesting happens as part of this process. I hit OK. We're processing these 3 operations. It's asking me to save the NCI file, so I'll say, okay, I want to save it. And now I get the NCI data that comes up in the editor. What's actually happened, this posting process is frozen. We have not completed the posting process. And the reason is that Mastercam will actually let you make edits to the NCI data if you want to see the changes come out. So for example, we've got, I'll just change the tool number, for example. So we'll go down here to the tool change. Oh, you know what? It'd be like one of the 27,000 or 20,007 parameter lines. Yeah, we'll do that later. But I'll show you making a change to the NCIs. But if I close this now, so this is the NCI data, and this data tells the posting engine what I want to output. It starts at the top with some machine definition information. So this is all information about the machine that I loaded. It gets encoded as strings, as a parameter, 20,600. And each one of these strings is part of my machine definition. Then we start with all of the preparatory NCI data. And all of this data here is read before the tool change. When I say the data is read before the tool change, read by what? What's reading this data? Anybody got a guess? It's the MP engine. So the post file does not read the data. The post file tells the MP engine what to do for each specific piece of data that's being read, whether to use it or ignore it. In addition, there are some pieces of NCI data that don't actually call a post function. So when I say call a post function, when I look at this NCI data, every single one of these NCI lines has what we call an entry post block. So it has some post block that gets called for this specific line of data. When we look at every NCI file, every NCI file is written in 2-line sets. The first line is called the NCI G code, and it tells MP, which is the engine, right, MPDLL, what the next line of data represents. And in this case, on the 1050 line, we've got a parameter that's set to 19. We've got a space. We've got another parameter set to 69. We've got a space. All of these parameters are space delimited. And based on the actual NCI G code number, MPDLL is going to load this data into different variables. So when MP is processing all of this preparatory data right here, it is loading all of this data into variables. And these are predefined variables. Predefined means that MP knows about them. There are these variables that already exist, and they get their data from the NCI file. So when we start reading this, and we need to kind of back up and talk about variables and do some other things, but on the first day of class, one of the things I really want to make sure we do is actually look at a post processor, open it up, and do something with the code, which we're going to get to in just a few minutes here. So we're coming up on a good stopping point, and we're going to go ahead and pause this video. And it's kind of right about the midpoint of class. So what we're going to do is pause this video. When we come back, we're going to come back at 8:30. So we're going to take about a 10-minute break, and then we're going to continue on with the last half of class. So, and in the meantime, if you guys have questions about anything that I've talked about so far, about anything that maybe didn't make sense, or that you want me to expand on or go back and touch on or whatever, go ahead and type it into the chat box. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and, like I said, pause the video, and I will see you guys in a few minutes here.